Hello Internet, welcome back to Unity Interactive. It's been a while since we worked with this. I'm probably going to be moving most of this work to like a live stream or something. I think that's probably more appropriate for this. But for now, we are going to be working on getting our poll working. So what we need to do is get actual values to be selectable. So you can actually pick what value you want, because right now that isn't possible. So it isn't actually working right now, and that's because I've been doing a little bit of refactoring on my own. So what we have now is we have an activator that creates an instance. So it creates a type of whatever it is your type is. So we have some fields that we select. I've kind of tried to simplify this a little bit. And then we pass in that new object into this draw editor function, which is broken. And the reason it's broken is because I'm trying to switch on field types, but you can't do that. C# does not approve of switching on field types. So I'm actually going to quickly wrap this in a dictionary. I figured I'd do this on stream so we didn't get too far ahead. So we're gonna map it by type and to a function that's going to take a object and return an object. So you pass in the object of whatever it is it takes, and it yields something else. And then I actually wonder if I can make that generic. I don't think so though. I don't think it would like that. I'll have to look into that a little bit. So we have this dictionary, and this is just going to be of our, what do I want to call it? Editors? Property editors. And so what we need these property editors to actually do is display some sort of menu to actually edit. And so the reason I'm doing it this way is because I couldn't find any way to actually automatically select the proper editor. I couldn't find a way to do that, so we have to kind of manually do this. If you know of a way to get around that, that would be fantastic, because I don't really like this solution, just because you need to have an editor recognized or it isn't going to work. And if you create a custom one, it's not going to show up here. And that kind of defeats a lot of what I wanted to do. We can obviously use some more reflection to find all those custom editors, but that's a lot of extra work that I don't really think we need to do. So anyway, we don't have anything there, but I'm going to take if the property editors contains the field type, the field type. Nice. So if it contains a key of that type, then we're going to return something. What do we want to return? Field, sorry, getting totally lost. Property editors, let's just grab the field type like that and invoke that. So we're going to call whatever our function is, which should display the editor for this field. And then we're going to pass in our current value. I'm going to have to rename that quick. I haven't done much with naming yet, but I'm trying to get this looking somewhat good, because otherwise it's just going to be, nobody's going to want to use it if it doesn't look good. So anyway, we have this draw editor. The other thing I need to do is actually have an error case. So if there's no recognized editor for this, I'm going to just display an error. So editor, Gui Layout. Let's create a text field. Actually, let's do a label. And we're just going to say no supported editors found. And that's just going to let you know as the developer that currently we don't have anything available. And then I'm just going to return the current value. So you just get the current value right back, which is, I guess that kind of handles it. So for this, I'm going to create a new, that's not how you do that, new key. We want type of our int. I think I have to do that. Yeah. So if you give it an 32-bit int, just standard integer, we need a new function, which we're going to just pass in the value as a function and return a something. What do we want to return? Let's do a editor UI layout and create a int field. So I did try things like this property field, but it requires a serialized property, which I'm not sure we want to just force people to give it that. And I don't know. I was running into issues and I didn't find any good solution. So for now, we're kind of stuck with this, which, why are you being, okay. Visual Studio is doing its thing again. Let's plug in our value. So that's going to be value as an integer 32. Let's just cast it this way. Okay, that's kind of weird. Oh, value, there we go. So we get a editor for this value, and then it's just automatically returned. I can actually pull a lot of this off, and we just get a really simple editor. I'm going to create one for a float too. And then I think we'll call it good. I'll have to go through and add. Uh-oh. Really? I'm going to pretend like that exists because I don't know. Float. Uh-oh. I don't know the object name for floating point numbers. That's a problem. All right, we'll ignore that for now. It's not required, so we'll just skip it. I'll change this to an int because otherwise my stuff wouldn't work. And then we should be good. So this, if I select an integer value, should display an int field. And it should compile now. There we go. So I get some beam stuff and I get a user value poll. So if I select our main window, I thought I fixed that, but anyway, we have our test script. If I select a field, let's select our test value, and I'll get this integer value back, which means I can now edit that value. The problem is we constantly are refreshing it. So the next step is going to actually be persisting it, which means we can't keep calling this. We can't keep creating a new one every time we edit it. We have to maintain some sort of state, which I should have considered how to solve this before starting this video. So we're gonna just make something up, and then I will try to, I don't know. I haven't figured out the best way to do this yet. State is kind of a weird, it's always a kind of a weird thing. So let's actually create a poll. User value poll. And so this is going to go away. Okay, there we go. I don't think we need it to be I don't think we need to be like a mono behavior or anything like that. But we are going to public. What do we want? I don't know. We want this to contain all of the potential values. So this is going to be a list of objects. And let's also create a list of types. And if it's a list of types, yeah, Yeah, sure. Oops. All right. So we're going to have the type that we're actually tracking. And that way we actually know what we're working with. And then we're also going to have the list of potential object values. So this is going to be those stored values, all the ones that were activated here, that are created here. We're going to move all of those into this list. So you can keep adding new ones. And each of these new values is going to become an item in your poll. So each one is going to draw here. I think. That's sort of the idea right now. We'll have to play with all of this. I don't entirely know how it's going to go, but we can work with it. So this is going to be current values. Do I want anything else? We've got the type, the current values. I'm wondering if we want like eventually we're going to want some way to signal how to win. Because I'm thinking there could be a few different ones. Like there could be, like if you want to change it, maybe you have to pay something to activate something, or maybe it's whoever gets the most votes after a certain amount of time, or whoever gets the most in the next tick, or whoever acts fastest, or whatever. All of those are potential ways to kind of end this. So for now, we'll just kind of leave that off. Because we don't have a voting mechanism yet. There's no way to actually cast your votes. We haven't integrated into Beam / Mixer. They renamed it since the last video, so this is kind of weird. But anyway, so we need these current values here. Going off on a ramble again. All right. Let's take our type. We're going to require that when you create this. So you give it a type. And by default, it will create with no elements. So type equals new, well, that's not right. This type equals the type. And then let's set our current values equal to a new list of just random objects. Theoretically, all of these objects should be of this type. If they're not, we've done something wrong. So I'm going to add a insert. Sure. And we'll just give it an object. One sec. I wonder if this works. T where T. Oh, hold on. That's not how that works. So we're going to insert something like this of type T. This will be our value where T extends type. Yeah, I didn't really think that was going to work, but it was worth a try. I don't think that's how generics work. I don't think there's any way that could have possibly worked, but I was curious. So, all right, current values dot add. This will just add the new value to the end. And since these are going to be mutable values, so if they're just references, so if you grab them, you should be able to modify them. There shouldn't be anything stopping you from that. So enumerable. We're gonna have. Do I want it to be enumerable? No, not really. Ignore that. So we're gonna have something to get back our objects. That'll just be current values. We'll get it. We'll return the current values. Like so. So just a quick property so we can actually get those and iterate over them so we can actually draw something. So we can insert and we can draw them. There's no update right now. So let's actually try that. Void update. How do I want to do this? We're going to need an index, so this enumerable is going to probably be useless. Because enumerable is good for like for eaches, but it isn't good for anything else. It's really good if you need to enumerate over something, but I need to actually get the index and say update this one to be that. So I think we're going to need something a little bit more complicated. So I'm going to do a little crazy function for each replace. So what this is going to do is it's going to take for each object in our current values, it's going to iterate over each of them in order, execute some function, and then replace every element in that list with the new result. So yeah, kind of a full replacement each time. So the way this is going to work is we're going to have a function that takes an object and returns an object. This should look familiar. We just implemented this back here. So we're effectively going to be passing in that function based off of this type. That's sort of how I'm picturing this kind of stuff aligning. But you get this, and this will just be our function. And then for int I from 0 to the current values dot length count, I guess. They keep changing it, but anyway, when I say they keep changing it, it means I jump between Python and Java and C#, and they all have different things. I think Java uses size, and anyway, getting sidetracked. Let's see. We need to do our current values of I and plug that into our function. So I think we can just do this of I and set our current values at I equal to that. So this will it will evaluate our function and then replace the current value with the new one. And it will do that for each one in order. So if we give it an ordered list of our values, we should be able to just iterate over that. It'll keep the order of it. But this way we should, theoretically, be able to modify things without too much issue. So the best way to do this, I'm saying the best way, this isn't the best way to do this. I'm kind of figuring that out, but I'm all right with this situation or solution so far, but I don't know. I feel like there's probably a better way. I'll probably go through and refactor this. That's sort of just how this works. So we're going to have a private poll that's going to exist, and every time we select something new, so we build our field list, we build our component list, do all of that. If we select something new, does that work? Maybe. If selected field is greater than or equal to 0, if our poll, or if not the poll, okay, that doesn't work. That's a new feature. Never mind. It's not null, or is equal to null, sorry. If it's equal to null, then we want to create a new one, which means I'm going to have to null this poll out if we deselect a potential field. So we want the poll equal to a new. I actually want to move this down a bit. Feel like I copied too much. There we go. So, why package info? Okay. User poll. Sure. So I want this, the field type. So we're grabbing the field type of whatever field we've selected and creating a new poll based on that if one doesn't already exist. Then let's do this just for testing purposes. This isn't because I don't have a way to add anything right now. That will be what we'll do next, but I don't have that right now. So we're going to create three random values based off of whatever instance type we have. And I can pull that out now. Then what I want is for poll dot for each replace. And I just want to do draw editor. Yeah, so we'll take the value, plug that in, and then return draw, whoops. We'll just run draw editor with the value and the field type. Yeah. So field dot field type should work. I could expose the type. That'd actually probably be better. So let's do that. Why not? Poll dot type. So we need to expose this. Easiest way is just a property type. Can't call it type. Dot contained type. So the type you're containing. Sure. Get return type. Cool. That'll work. So we'll just drop that there. And then I can pull this out. Everything should work. Theoretically, assuming none of my code is broken, we should now have an editor like I had. It will get created with 3 fields when we create something. Just thinking there's a few things I need to do yet. But it will create that list. There'll be 3 things we can edit. When I edit them, they should get edited and replaced in that original array over here. So the values here will get swapped out as we edit things, which means that those edited values are now persisted until we deselect things, which we need to handle still. And to do that, I'm just going to, this is the part I don't like so much. I don't think this is clean at all. And we'll probably need to wrap this in some sort of abstraction layer just to keep it clean. But yeah, this is kind of gross. But if none of the other cases are working, so if we hit any of the other cases besides having a property or besides having a object selected with a valid script selected with a valid field selected, if not all 3 of those aren't true, we need to null this out and say you need to create a new poll. So yeah, that's kind of gross, but it'll work for what we're doing. I thought I fixed this so it would continue to update, but whatever. So, oops. No supported editors found for test value. Well, that's kind of weird. Test script, test value. Oh. It's because we switched these, but we never actually got to any of those null conditions. That's why I don't like this solution. It doesn't detect these changes. But anyway, I have this. If I change it to 10, it will stay. If I change this to 20, and if I change that to 30, all of those are persisted now. So theoretically, we could create a poll with those 3 values and just kind of post those out there. And you could edit them or not edit them, but you could select one of them or vote on one of them or whatever. So yeah, that's that. The last thing I want to do in this video, before it just kind of goes off into random rambles, is add a way to actually add a new value. So by default, there'll just be 1, but I want to add a way to actually remove specific rules, which might be kind of difficult, and also add a new one. So add one to the end. I don't know the best way to do that, but we're gonna figure it out after I stop coughing. That would be good. All right. So adding is going to be easy because all I have to do for adding is after this whole for each replace is create a if, and this isn't going to look good by any means. That's not really the goal yet. Editor, GUI layout, I think should work. We'll get a button, new poll option. Ideally, a lot of this stuff would be kind of condensed. We have a lot of like unused room, but for now it kind of works. So we're going to insert a new activator. There we go. Create an instance from field type, and that will just create the default value into that field, and that will just drop it there. So with that, everything's going to get wiped out just because that's the way that works. Argument cannot be null. What? What? All right, that's kind of weird. Let's try that again. There we go. So there's a few kinks. We'll need to work those out. But if I create a new poll option, we keep getting these added, and all of these can be edited just the same way. So everything works. I can edit everything. It's all good. So yay. Now we need to be able to remove things, which is where it gets a little bit tricky, because there's no good way to remove things right now. So I think the best way is to do this draw editor bit, and in here we actually draw our object. So we're going to have the value set here and return that there. But I also am going to need some sort of button at the very end to kind of delete it. So we're going to just create a editor GUI layout, horizontal, begin horizontal. Cool. And so what this does is it begins a horizontal run. So you'll create all the new components that are added will be added one after the other horizontally across the screen from left to right. And then at the end here, I need to end horizontal, which will just stop that from happening. So this will mean we can put a remove button right next to it. If I put it below, it'll be on the right side. So if GUI layout dot button, we'll just make it an X with a GUI layout option. Let's try new. This is the part where I screw things up. GUI layout option dot. Okay. Sorry, that's it. GUI layout dot max. I think, yeah, there's just a width. So we'll set the width equal to something. 10? I don't think that's how that works. Cannot convert it to an int. What? I don't actually know how to use these things. One sec. So you pass it in a width, and it will give you a GUI layout option. So GUI layout.width, give it a float, like say 32. Oh, whoa, that's why that's not working. I'm trying to initialize the size of the array to that random object. That's not going to ever work. All right. Now that we've gotten past that, we'll just create that. That's going to stay empty for now. I will stick a little log in here, deleted. And that will just say we need to delete this value. But we're going to run into our issue of not knowing how to remove things again. I'm going to need, every time I edit this, some of the values get reset. And so I have to kind of restart it just because otherwise we get nulls. But we have these X's here. And you'll see we have some deleted messages popping up. So that would be removing them, except for the fact that we don't have a way to remove them. So we need that. And I don't know the best way to do that. Well, we haven't updated the value yet. Well, we have, actually. Because by invoking this, there's a side effect of overriding the value at that position. So by doing this, we actually delete things. So we need an ID or something. We need some way to actually know what to delete. And I think for that, I may want to just back off a bit and kind of think this over a bit, because I don't know the best way to do this. Usually you'd have a key or an index. We aren't exposing either of those. So I'm not entirely sure. Unless... what do we want to call this? It's not a function, it's a action. No. It's called a... Shoot. One sec, I need to find out what this is called. There's an action or a function, but it doesn't pass in anything, it just returns something, and I don't remember what they're called. So let me find that, and then we'll move on. One sec, does function support that? So if I just give it an object, I don't think this works. Delete function. Yeah, okay, so functions do work with that, so we don't need to worry about that. Functions should be good. So we're going to draw this with our function. And then I want to do a Boolean. So we're going to return if it was deleted. So we return true if it should be deleted. So if delete function of that, then we want to remove it, which we can do by just doing current values. Actually, we're going to have a deleted list. So this is sort of a trick that I've used a lot. If you're doing these iterations, we're going from front to back, which isn't great if you want to actually remove things, because that will shift everything when you delete it, which means you can't increment your index for that time, and it just gets really confusing. For each loops will just not let you do it. We could do it here, but we'd have to do some tricks. I'm going to just ignore those tricks and do this the easier way. And just store the index, because only one is going to be deleted. So yeah, we'll store an index. I equals deleted index equals -1. So if our delete function returns true and says we should delete it, we'll set our deleted index equal to I. And then after we've looped over everything, then we'll delete it. So if our deleted index is greater than or equal to 0, because 0 is a valid index, that's why we did -1 up there. So if that happens, then we're going to drop it. So current values dot remove at deleted index, which will just delete whatever was there. And then we just need to move all of this stuff into our... What is going on? Property editors contains key. Wait, hold on. Oh, because this entire draw editor is getting passed in. Okay, this is... I may have screwed up a bit, but we'll make it work. So we'll do that. This button returns a Boolean, so it satisfies our condition. Everything's good. I can pull that out. And this can just return now. And then I need to move the begin and end horizontal up here. So begin, that won't work. This has to actually be in that for each replace. So this is actually turning out to be a solution I'm not too fond of. It's just, I don't know. I'm kind of pulling things together from all over the place, which this is good because it'll get us something that will work, which is something that we can test and then improve on. But I don't necessarily think this is the best initial solution. So I'm going to drop that and create a new one, grab our test script, our test value, and drop the first element. So we'll do 1, 2, 3. All right, those still don't work. Did I save? I feel like I didn't save. Does not exist in the current context. Oh. Fixed it. Cool. This is probably going to break again. Yeah. Okay. Let's try this one more time, and it should be working now. So I should be able to grab our test value. We'll do 1, 2, 3. Now if I delete entry 1, it goes away. We have 2 and 3 left. If I delete 3, we have 2 left. And then I can add a few more, delete 2, and everything's good. So I can add and delete these values, and they're all based off of whatever type you have selected. Currently, it only supports ints, but we're going to expand that to support pretty much any type you're going to use. There will be one for serialized properties too, so theoretically, it will support most things. I'm sure there's going to be something that it's not going to support, and we're going to have to figure out a way to do that. But we'll get there when we get there. So for now, we sort of have a way to create these polls. We just need a way to actually post them now, which we're going to use Mixer's API for that initially. And hopefully we'll integrate with like Twitter's API for polls and stuff too. So you can actually create like a Twitter poll. That API doesn't actually exist right now. So that's why we're not doing that. But that's sort of some of the visions I have is like, how do you get everybody to help you build whatever you're building? That's where I'm kind of taking this. So if there's any ideas you guys have for how we can improve this or how we can change it or other ideas, or if you have a better way of doing these properties, I'd love to hear it. Yeah, I'm hoping this is something that people will actually use and it will actually kind of improve how games are made and hopefully beyond just games, just how things in general are made, because the cross communication I think is really valuable. So hopefully this is a way to do that. And if not, it's at least a little bit fun. So anyway, yeah, if there's anything you guys want me to improve on, anything you want me to change, I'd love to hear that. That's how I get better. And if there's any other ideas you guys have for any other projects you think we should do, leave those in the comments. That's where I get my ideas from. So till next time, see you, Internet.